What's going on, guys? Adam Ivy. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been bombarding you with video after video, breaking down magnetic music marketing, or as I call it, the M3 framework. Now, as someone who teaches marketing, I understand that you're here to learn, but I also understand the reality of how many people you see day after day trying to sell you on some secret or some type of magic pill program, promising huge financial gains, easy success, and too good to be true results with little or no effort. Red flags everywhere, really, is what I'm trying to get at. So I thought to myself, what can I do? What can stand out that people typically don't see when it comes to online programs and testimonial videos? That's when it hit me. How about instead of sharing stories with new students with early on success, why don't I go back and find a student who's been out of the program for like over a year and see what they're up to? Kind of like a where are they now interview. That way you guys can see that magnetic music marketing isn't just luck and that it can work out long term. So that's what I did. And I hope you guys are really going to like this. So I would suggest watching this to the very end. Now, I've released several videos in a student spotlight series where I highlight the journey and successes of students who are in my program, such as our friend Hostile Beats, who you know increased his monthly income by over $5K a month as a producer. Or how about Jennifer Jess, who built her following using Twitch, which has certainly come in handy this year. Or how about Chicago-based band The Foons, who went from establishing themselves as a band to then selling out the House of Blues in under 6 months' time. Or how about Ann Jeanette, who got to quit her job to do music full-time after joining my Sell Music Masterclass. In fact, Henry with the 3, shout out to Henry, did the same thing and is now doing music full-time. And you can go check out that video as well. Anyway, I share all of their stories in detail in those videos, so I invite you to watch those after this video if you haven't yet. But I wanted to take a few minutes to show you what's possible long-term when you use a proven system, when you put things into place, when you understand the frameworks that build a sustainable business and success within it. And real quick, the video that we're about to share right now that you're in is video 5 of a free 6-part series breaking down my magnetic music marketing framework to show you the power and importance behind it and how you're limiting yourself by not utilizing it, point blank. In case you haven't watched the first 4 videos, I highly recommend that you do, so make sure to go back and catch up after this video because the information that I've been giving away for free is more valuable and up to date than what you're going to get in most paid courses these days. And that's why these other failed musician gurus on YouTube don't like me that much. So with that being said, I recently got on a call with our good friend Mikie Henderson to see what he's been up to since we released his original Student Spotlight video last year. And let's just say a lot can change in 1 year's time, but I'm going to let him tell his story. All right, guys, as mentioned, here back again with Mikie Henderson. If you guys haven't seen the first video that Mikey and I did a little over a year ago, make sure to check out the description box or I'll have something pop up on the screen. But Mikey is a Sell Music Masterclass alumni, killing it. And in the last video we did in July of 2019, we went over his wins, his experiences, but things have changed since then. So I wanted to revisit kind of a where are you now with Mikey, just to kind of catch up, be able to share his story, be able to share the evolution, the moves he's been making, the ups, the downs, and everything in between, so you guys can see like, hey, people are still doing it after that initial video. So Mikey, welcome. I appreciate you joining me yet again.
Thanks for having me back, Adam.
Of course. So why don't you start off by introducing yourself to people that might not have seen the first video and just kind of, let them know who you are, what you're about, where you're living and all that good stuff.
Sure. Well, my name is Mikie Henderson and I'm a country music artist from the UK. I quit an full-time engineering role over 2 years ago to pursue my passion of doing music, and over a year ago joined the Sell Music Masterclass, and yeah, as you said, that we had a student spotlight video at the end of summer, or middle of summer last year, and since then. You might have seen in that video if you have watched it, and if you haven't watched it, as Adam said, he'll make the link available. But I was living in the north of Scotland, and when I say the north of Scotland, I mean the very north of Scotland. Right up there, John O'Groats, for anyone that knows the UK. But since then, I've moved actually, and I've moved to close to London. And that is, to further my opportunities available to me in the music industry. And one thing we touched on in our last video was how location didn't matter in terms of developing your brand and your music business and selling music online. But what I wanted to do more was do opportunities in music, for myself that I really liked. And for me, a lot of that is playing live. And there was just so much more opportunity to do that kind of where I'm now based. And that was what sort of motivated that move.
That's awesome, man. So, before we started recording, you were sharing with me that the momentum from last year had just ramped up. And all of a sudden, we shared in the first video that you sold out a venue the first time around. It actually sold out just within a few hours, essentially.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, from what I understand, you were having so many live gigs available to you that you kind of found yourself in a bit of a conundrum. Why don't you share that with the audience?
Yeah, so I was doing a lot of my own music gigs, and also as other music work. I was pushing myself as a kind of session musician as well, that diversifying the income streams and everything that you talk about in your videos, and trying to do that as much as possible. But actually, I just found myself so much in demand that I was having to travel from the north of Scotland, and I mean to even the largest main city, which is 40,000 people. So that is over 2 hours drive.
Wow.
And then to the central belt of Scotland is a 6 hour drive. That's Edinburgh and Glasgow. And then that's when the work really starts. So you're a 12-hour round trip before you even got to the majority of the work. And then there's so much more sort of down it as you go through the country. So yeah, I was kind of just finding that just a bit tough, and finding that I was doing too much for other people and actually not enough for myself and my own music.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are very familiar with that when you're booking shows and saying yes to everybody and anything, because you're living out of maybe a little bit of fear that, like, hey, if I don't say yes to all these things, they're not going to be able to be available to me in the future, or I need to stack up as much income as possible, and so I have to say yes to every single thing. But you found yourself in kind of a predicament, if you don't mind sharing that, as far as the health scare that you had, going from overworking yourself and kind of finding yourself in a yes to everybody situation that was wearing you down a little bit. Then like, what happened at the end of last year? Because I think it's really important that people hear this aspect of the real world side of things.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, I got taken into hospital, at the end of August. It's quite ill. Well, I won't go into too much details or anything, but I guess the point is that I was just out. I reached a point where I had to kind of take some time out and just one, get better, and then two, refocus and think, this is not really sustainable. And I had to, I guess, just refocus on what I was going to do in terms of music and also in terms of life, because I wanted to make sure that my lifestyle was better, because as you can imagine as well, a lot of that traveling, it comes with not much sleep, bad diet, or trying to do the best you can on the road and stuff like that. And while I was delighted that I managed to build that up, I just wanted to get a lot more clever with it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, so and side note, everything's good now. You're feeling a lot better.
Yeah, all good.
Okay. That's like first and foremost for those of you who are watching. If you're wearing yourself down to the bones, there's a better way. That, like, just take care of yourself, your mental health, your physical health. Like, that's so important to fuel everything else. I mean, I battled with depression. I still battle with Hashimoto's disease with my thyroid and stuff. So, you're preaching to the choir, talking to somebody who absolutely knows what it's like to kind of be derailed by something and then get back up and running. So moving from 2019 into 2020, you relocate, you have all these different experiences available to you, living outside of London. You said about an hour outside of London. So, like, let's transition out of the bad stuff with getting over being sick or ill, into the next chapter of not only your personal life, but your music life. What does that look like? Like, what was that experience for you like?
Sure. I think I was kind of ready for a change, because I left the city to go back home to have the financial security to build up my ability to to survive doing music and other opportunities. And I felt I couldn't do that in a traditional job, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
I don't want to go too much into detail on that stuff, but I mean, like a 9-to-5 job where you're paid to do so many hours a week, and you've got your evenings and weekends to do what you've got to do with all the other stuff. So straight away, I'm now able to move away from home again, but I don't have a 9-to-5 job, traditional employment. I've completely been able to design a lifestyle that balances some things that I do for income, but with my music as well. And I kind of went to somewhere that's completely different in terms of economics, in terms of, landscape, in terms of people, and, just really, really different. But equipped with that blueprint that you often talk about, knowing that I know exactly what I need to do here, because like location didn't matter when I was in the north of Scotland. The move was for personal reasons, but now that I'm here, the blueprint's the same, if you know what I mean. So I just start building up that momentum again, networking, reaching out to people. And before I knew it, I was booked in for my music. I was booked in residencies in some local venues. I was playing gigs. I was working on deals with some of the venue owners. So, for example, they did like a Sunday lunch kind of thing, and I did acoustic music, just myself. So we weren't band or anything like that, just myself, my own music, and like just kind of looking at how can we be inventive? How can we make as many gigs and other income generating streams, if you like, as possible. And yeah, we kind of. We ramped up then at the start of the year, and we started doing a lot in a new environment, new location within a matter of weeks. I mean, this is not like months and months. I'm talking weeks, and just reaching out to some folk, getting things sorted, and using social media, basically.
Yeah. So you're saying that going from the north of Scotland to just outside of London, within weeks, you were able to use what you learned in the Cell Music Masterclass program to kind of go from square one again. Obviously, you had more knowledge and you had some more music out and you had some experience under your belt, but new environment, new economics, like you said, you don't know anyone there really. I mean, as far as venues, as far as gigs and anything like that, and they don't really know you. You used what you had learned that worked the first time to just apply it back again, and then it started working for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And that's awesome, man. But let's face it, people that are watching this right now are going to say, all right, well, we know what's going on this year. All those live gigs sound nice and fine and dandy, but did you experience, like everybody else, kind of a slowdown or a complete screeching halt when people started getting locked down and quarantine happened earlier this year?
Sure. Yeah, just nothing. Gigs that were booked were cancelled, and kind of work for the rest of the year in the live scene just got wiped out, basically, as good as overnight. But thankfully, again, thanks to the Cell Music Masterclass and the way I've now designed my life, obviously it meant I couldn't play gigs, but I wasn't scared or worried or financially unstable, because I've now designed my life in such a way that I've been able to use the Cell Music Masterclass techniques to actually help some businesses and other people with their marketing, and I just focused on that for over lockdown, really. And that since over the last few months, I've just been helping businesses with that and growing that side of opportunities as well.
So you shifted, and very, very quickly, which is something that I've always really appreciated about you, Mikey. But you go from having all these gigs, you're in demand, you're saying no to things you don't want to do, so you feel a lot better about what you're doing. You have club owners and promoters or venue owners working gigs around you to give you opportunity, like you said, the lunch crowd at one place, and then you're working with bands and others. But when that came to a screeching halt, you said, no problem. Like, what I can do is I can use the skills that I've learned, the knowledge that I've accumulated over the last year or two, and apply it to other people's small businesses that are still open, are still trying to get new customers. You've applied it to that. And, if you don't mind me sharing with my audience, you actually mentioned to me that you and your significant other started a business or something. Why don't you tell that story?
Yeah, sure. Well, actually, you just did the summary better than I put it in the first instance. That's exactly what I did. And yeah, I also, with my girlfriend, started a catering company. And again, it's another thing. Catering company in the middle of what's going on. But we started out in the exact same way, but creating free content online that basically giving away recipes and doing cooking demonstrations and all that kind of good stuff based on cooking. So a different industry, if you like, different thing, but the same model, if you like. And yeah, now that things have opened back up again, we've had bookings doing private catering, high-end fine dining private catering in people's homes, and for birthday parties and holidays and staycations, which are a big thing just now. And the way I like to say it is like self-catering for people that don't want to cater for themselves.
Right. If you lived closer to me, I'd have you come over because I'm pretty lazy when it comes to cooking.
Yeah.
Mikey, I know what people are probably thinking right now watching this video. They say, okay, this is cool. You got this guy from the north of Scotland doing country music. Now his music career washed up. Nobody's hiring him anymore. He started a catering company with his girlfriend and he's helping small businesses with their marketing. Okay, cool, Adam. He quit music. Like, why are you bragging about that? You didn't quit music. You still maintained your creative passions and making music in the background. So why don't you take a sidestep? And while you were doing the marketing, while you were still generating income with the skill sets that you've accumulated or taken on over the last year or two, why don't you tell the audience what's going on with the music releases, with the singles, with the accomplishments behind that? Like, let's paint that picture.
Sure. Well, so yeah, when things changed, I still maintain this. I think I might have been one of the first people to do a live gig that now everyone's doing because I was like, I had this great idea, but on the weekend that everything changed, that what a great idea if I can just go in my living room, get my guitar out and engage with my fans. And we had like over 40,000 people watch that, and in total, and at any one time there was well over 300-400 online. And wow. to think that I just didn't expect that. I didn't know what I was expecting, but I didn't expect that. So I did definitely maintained over the period, maintain that engagement and that online thing as much as I could, because at times, it got tough mentally and everything else. You think, this is annoying, but we maintained that, and we did the online gigs and the streams and the writers' rounds and everything else virtually. But all that was going on right at the start, and then we were kind of working up to June when things were starting to get a bit better, and I actually thought, you know what, I'm just going to release some music because I had it there, didn't want to release it right at the start, and then I was like, no, I no longer want to wait. So in June I released my first single, If Only, that was it went down really well. Happy with how it went in general, but kind of knew that because I'd taken a bit of a gap and kind of things shifted a bit, that would have, and it was my debut single actually from releasing my own music, that there would be a bit of sort of building up to do. So that was in June, and then we released the follow-up just a couple of weeks ago, actually, at the end of September, and it went to number 2 in the UK country music charts, on iTunes download charts, and we were 6 places away from a top 40 UK single download, or iTunes download. So, in terms of the number 2, if you like, behind Keith Urban and Pink, and the iTunes country music charts, and I couldn't believe that we could have gone from where we were at in June with the first single that did okay, it did good, and it did better than, because again, as we've all discussed, how online numbers can skew things, and imagine having 1,000 people in your house, for example, but or whatever it is, but to go from that was fine, to with everything that's going on just now and how easily available music is on streaming platforms and everything else, people choosing to download, my single, the follow-up single, and enough to get it to number 2 in the charts was just fantastic.
That's surreal. And honestly, I think there's a really good point within what you just broke down. Is I know a lot of people will take a break from music, or they'll experience an obstacle in their life that really discourages them. And then any music creator has this passion inside of us to like, I've taken a break, I need to get back to the music. It's like a long lost relative that you need to get back to, that you just miss and think about all the time. And that happened to you. You had to take a step back. You had no choice to take a step back, and you had to kind of shift. But all the while, you still have music that you're working on. And you knew, because of the frameworks and because of the systems that you've kind of developed through the Cell Music Masterclass, that, hey, I know this first one might not be viral. I know this first one might be kind of a new foundation for me, so that when you released that new single earlier this year, you didn't go into it saying like, this is going to make my career, this is my meal ticket, this is going to be a life changer. You said, we'll see what happens with this, but I know that this is going to be used to then piggyback off the next one. And so you knew how the momentum shift worked. You released that first single. You were very realistic with your expectations. You pushed it. You had a lot of great feedback on it. I thought it was a great record. But then, with the next one that you released just a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, from that, the first one in June. And the reason that I say this, guys, is because a lot of people would have released that single in June and started questioning themselves, start doubting that they still have it, or doubt that they can make it, doubt that people actually care or that they're going to listen. But it's not about that. It's about planting the seed in which you start building that momentum and that progress. And I know a lot of times when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm a marketing nerd. So I sound like a broken record with the momentum and the progress and the ramp up and the anticipation and all that good stuff. But you know firsthand how it actually feels, how it actually looks. So going from that first single and saying like, hey, doing the groundwork, this is going to build up for this next one, releasing that next one, being number 2 on the charts for in the UK for country, being almost in the top 40, almost breaking top 40. And people are like, well, it's not Grammy Award winning. It's not. Like, this is a guy from the north of Scotland doing country music outside of London who took a break because of health reasons and what's going on this year. And yet he's right underneath Keith Urban.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And this is the thing. It's not a fluke. It's not something that just magically happened, or some numbers that came and went. Like, what has happened because of that? You were telling me you've had opportunities, interviews and stuff. Like, why don't you would tell it better than I would.
Yeah, sure. So you as well, what you said is about it coming in, it didn't come and go. It actually stayed up there at number 2 for a week. Which again, I couldn't, and it proved that it wasn't just a kind of, we just hit it and then it dropped back down. So we stayed there, and then we slowly began to sort of kind of drop down the charts, but it was there for long enough that we had the BBC in touch, which is like, I don't know what the equivalent is for you guys in America.
BBC is a big deal even over here, man. The BBC is like, everybody most people know, BBC One and all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, I grew up watching Top Gear, so that's how I discovered the BBC.
Well, so it's like our main 2 channels are run by, the BBC, and we had them on for an interview, and we did a similar interview to this style. In fact, I was sat in this seat.
That's funny.
And so that was for the news, the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock news. And we've had the national newspapers do write-ups. We've had people actually get in touch about playing at festivals and venues when things are able. They're kind of, and all these kind of people that actually, I was like writing down for me, I need to make sure to remember to get back in touch with these people, but they're actually getting in touch with me. So, and that was on, as you kind of said, it was like building up, but that just, I guess it just shows you if you kind of put the right stuff in place for the first one, then you can use what you did in the first one to build up, to the follow up and to the next. And it, like you talk about that hype and you know, the growth and the ecosystem and everything else, and it all feeds into ultimately one thing, which is in the middle of everything that's going on, still being able to have a music career.
Mikey, this stuff is inspiring, man. I know that a lot of people are going to get a lot of value from this video, maybe motivation, maybe inspiration, maybe a little bit of insight on how they can shift with their music. As we just talked about the single that came out earlier this year into the one that recently came out, it's the same process, and I'm super excited for the third one whenever you drop that. So if you would be open to it, why don't we make this a thing where we catch up and do a video like this every year or so, maybe. We'll see what happens, right? And then when you start getting gigs over here in America and everything opens back up, you got to let me know, man, because we got to link up, maybe do one of these in person. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be really good. Yeah, no, I'm up for that.
So Mikey, in closing, first and foremost, you know, thank you again for, you know, joining me, whereas there's a big time difference. So if anybody's watching this and I look a little bit tired, it is pretty early morning over here. But Mikey, where can people find you?
So I'm at Mikie Henderson, Mikie Henderson on Instagram, and yeah, Spotify, iTunes, all the platforms. You'll find me there.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing an update with everybody. Student Spotlight Video 2.0, where are they now type edition. And, you know, thank you for just explaining your experiences. I know that sometimes it's a little hard to talk about the slumps, but you've really come out on the other side, and it's something that I'm proud of. It's something that it's really awesome to watch from my end. And I appreciate you applying what you're learning, because that's the way that it works. So, you know, Mikey, Sell Music Masterclass student, killing it. Check out all his stuff. I'll put it in the description box below. Thank you for your time, my friend. Let's kick it back to the studio. All right, guys. So I want to thank Mikey again for taking time out of his day to catch up with us and share his story about where life's taken him and where he is today. Mikey, I'm proud of you, man. Keep your head up and keep at it. Now, Mikey followed the exact same steps that I take every one of my students through in my Sell Music Masterclass 2.0 that's launching just a few days from today on Monday, October 19th. And as I mentioned earlier, I have over a dozen other Student Spotlight videos that I invite each and every one of you to go check out if you haven't seen them yet. I'll have a link for that in the description box below. I love sharing my students' wins and successes, so I'm always adding more of those as well. Now, imagine being able to look over my shoulder as I show you how to strategically develop your brand, grow your audience, build your traffic to your music, and get paid with the music that you already are creating while being there for you and helping you along the way to make sure you get results. Just think about how much time and money you'll be able to save compared to trying to figure this stuff out on your own. Now, as you can imagine, it'd be impossible for me to work with everyone. In fact, I like to keep my online program relatively small so that I can make sure that everyone has the support and help that they really need. So please understand that this is going to be a genuinely rare opportunity, and spots are always granted on a first come, first served basis. Now, this is literally the best program I've ever created, and I wouldn't be surprised if it sells out in a few hours like it did last time. So keep your eyes open and jump on board as soon as registration opens. Now, in my next video, I'm going to give you some specific instructions that you can follow to make sure that you get a spot in the program. And as always, I'll share some more information about my Sell Music Masterclass 2.0 and how it's different from anything else you've ever seen before. Now, that being said, make sure to get your name on the early bird waiting list if you haven't already. I'll have a link below this video. I appreciate you watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.